Hi everyone, this is Denise. I just got questions on uh, discussion boards and my grading. So I would just like to show you how I grade. I grade on the rubric, and I'm just going to grade. I'm going to show you like on my discussion what I wrote, so you know nobody is getting pointed out. All right, so here's the thread. I pick up a thread, and then I read what I saw, and I will assess a topic. Oops, sorry. I will assess the students. That would be me. All right, and this is the rubric that I use, and I know that it's posted for you guys under your resources. This is the discussion board BSN rubric. So it talks about critical thinking. To get 4 points, you need to be rich in content, full of thought, insight, and analysis. So what does that mean? It means that you are using a lot of the content that was discussed over the week, so making sure that you're showcasing that you understood the reading, but also taking it a step further so that you're analyzing it into your own practice. 3 points would be if you obviously, present the information, you have some clear thought on it, but maybe not that rich in content or deep analysis. Deficient is when you are generally competent, you're just kind of throwing out information, you're not taking it further, and then inadequate is just when it's really plainly discussed. Connections. So clear connections to previous or current experiences and real-life situations. Use required number of scholarly sources plus textbook or provided sources. So, we'll go back and look at the rubric, but you're supposed to be using evidence to support what you write. Oftentimes there's a lot of things being written down, like, poor attendance causes low patient satisfaction. Well, that might be an anecdotal truth to you, but it probably is supported in evidence, and you need to cite that. So if you're going to make a sweeping claim like that, you need to put evidence, or you could say, I've noticed this, and then you don't have to put evidence because that's an observation. But of course, we're writing a professional paper. You want to use as much evidence to support what you're writing. So you'll lose points as there's less and less amount of connection with evidence, okay? And uniqueness. So do any new ideas come out of this? Do you reply to your classmates with some depth and detail, or are you just saying, hey, good idea, right? Because you're going to lose points on that. And then style. So obviously grammatical or stylistic errors. When you're writing things, you need to sound professional. Don't use slang terms or slang phrases like, don't, like saying, I'm trying to think of one that people use, like, we're just going to dump this problem on you. You need to use things as they're meant to be said. And then also if you're going to use common terms like, hey, the cat's out of the bag, and you want to quote that, you need to find the quote. So if you can't find the citation for it, you can't quote it, okay? Your references need to be in APA format. They need to be cited within the paragraph. So make sure you understand how to cite things. Sometimes people put an organization, but there was actually an author within that article. So then you're citing it incorrectly. If you're going to, cite statutes or laws, make sure you look in your book, because it's going to be a lot different than what the citation generator pops up, and I'm going based on the book. And then contributions to learning society, again, this is more on your responses. So with connections, somebody says, talks about an ethical principle, and then you take that to another level. That's a good connection. Contribution to learning community. Are you attempting to motivate group discussion, or are you just responding to respond? So that's how you're going to get graded. So let me show you what I wrote about the damage. We're talking about what's your theory on aging, and use some to support you. So I'm going to read you what I wrote, and you're going to see that there's not a lot of my personal voice in there, but it still answers the question. So damage theories of aging subscribe to the notion that environmental factors have more of an effect on aging than the biological timetable. Nurture versus nature. The idea that the human cells have a finite amount of replications, not dependent on time but on usage, is believable with the increased average lifespan that correlates with socioeconomic, educational, and geographic status. In the last 10 years, the average life expectancy increased by 2 years and was affected by economic privilege, meaning those with better access to school, food, and health care are expected to live longer than those with less. And you see I'm supporting that claim. Exposure to adverse events, increased adipose tissue density, carcinogens, and daily stressors are environmental factors that directly affect the speed of aging. How do I know that, Denise? I will support that with evidence. The wear and tear theory explains that mammalian telomerase damage with repeated replication, therefore preventing proactive cellular growth over time that would be defined as slowing the process of aging. For example, a person with centralized obesity increases the cell replication of essential cells to keep up with the body energy requirement. This will shorten the life of that cell due to its damage of the cell's RNA, and eventually the cell will cease to replicate. So protecting these cells from such a fate requires lifestyle modifications to control obesity with well-rounded nutrition and exercise. Education of these environmental changes would be considered age-extending if one were to utilize the wear and tear theory. So if you look at the discussion question, it says, describe your own belief about the theory of aging and why. Use those we learned about or offer your own explanation, but be specific. So I did that, right? I talked about my belief. I didn't even have to mention me, myself, I. And it's fine if you do. You just have to be careful and sound professional when you do it. And the APA guidebook really walks you through that. I used a aging principle of wear and tear theory, and I used lots of evidence to support it and my thinking of it. This actually wasn't even that long. It fits the 400-word criteria. It has plenty of evidence, and I answered all aspects of the rubric. So if you go, except for obviously my response, because I haven't responded to anyone yet, and I'm not going to show anybody's, because I use this as an example in other classes. So critical thinking, it was full of thought, insight analysis of the theory, made connections to real life situations, so environmental factors that we have to implement. There are fewer than less grammatical or stylistic errors. There are a few in there. I could probably take off a few points, but my references were perfect and cited within the paragraph. And hopefully you will find that my uniqueness and contribution to learning community is enough for full points. So that's where I give feedback. You can see it. I think it shows up on your grades, but I know for sure it shows up in your assessment here. I'll try my best to copy and paste the rubric onto the feedback under grades so that you can make sure and see it. If there's a problem, just email me. I'm so happy to talk it over with you.